Greetings and salutations, CPROSU here. Today we're going to be running CTOS III from BitSavers in a VDI form under VirtualBox. So I've been asked to recreate the steps just so people can follow along. Links will be in the description. So just for completeness, right now I am on Windows 10 version 1909. And we're running VirtualBox 6.1.32. This is R149290, just in case they break something and it doesn't work after this. So we've got a clear shot here, and if we go over to the BitSavers page under Convergent and NGEN, there is a VDI.7z link as well as a README for it. And the README file goes over a bit of how to get this working and tells you what it is, which is in this case CTOS III version and standard S1.3.5. So it's set up as a standalone OS, which means that you can't do clustering with it, but perhaps if we find the OS install disks, we can work it. Now the reason this is going to work is because the Convergent Technologies, later UNISYS SuperGen, was built around a 46 and was mostly PC compatible. Now they have done a little bit of goofy things here with the keyboard map because, of course, the Convergent systems had some pretty strange keys, such as redraw and go and overtype, to name a few. So as a result of your standard PC keyboard not having those, some concessions had to be made and some substitutions had to be made. But the way that I did this was I went and I added a new machine. And obviously we're not going to set this up for 64-bit support. We don't need a lot of things because this is a very old OS. So with that in mind, my choice target happens to be IBM OS 2, and I'm going to pick other OS 2. I'm going to pick about 4 megs of RAM for us to work with. We could probably go with less, but this will work. And we're going to take that 7-zip file. We're going to use 7-zip. We're going to extract it. So now we've got our info here. We've got CTOS3.vdi and a README file. So we're going to actually point it over to there next. So we're going to use an existing hard drive file. We're going to tell it add. We're going to go to our desktop and pick up our image wherever we put it. There we go. And we're going to choose it. So we're not done yet because I want to make sure that there's going to be no problems with this. So we're actually going to go into settings here before we even start the machine up. We're going to go through all the tabs and make sure that we don't have anything goofy set. Like, for instance, I don't want the ability to boot from floppy or optical right now because we might want to add some software in, and if it's trying to boot off the floppy, it's going to get quite confused. We want to pick the PIIX3 chipset just for now. The older the better for this stuff. We're not going to enable any of the fancy things. We're going to go into display. It looks like it's going to set us at 9 megs of video memory, which is ridiculous, but I know it'll work. And just check under every set. We don't need audio. That's just another thing to get complicated. We don't need a network adapter, another thing to complicate it. I will, however, enable the 2 serial ports in case we decide to use that later. We're going to make sure USB is disabled. And that ought to be it. So, as soon as we start this sucker, I'll close that out. Alright. Going to notice a whole bunch of things happening. So, because it thinks we're on a SuperGen, it will give us basically the same kind of results. So I'm going to make this a little bigger so everybody can see it just fine. There we go. Get this out of the way here. So now here's what you need to know, and it's very, very important. So one of the things the remapping did was it made our enter key the enter key like normal, but this is a bad example because unfortunately it doesn't show us our numpad here. But if it did, the enter key on the numpad is actually our go button, because again, these computers had some interesting keys, and you cannot do anything with just the enter key. You got to have the go button. So when you first go in, you'll want to log in as admin. Don't bother with a password. Press enter, and it will require you to put the date in a fairly interesting format. So today happens to be Tuesday, February 8th, 2022, and it is currently 11:34 a.m. where I am. So if we press the go button, now we're at our command prompt. And here's where we can, check things out and do various things. Now, this is like, if you're familiar with how Cisco did their CLI, you can abbreviate things in CTOS, just like you could with Cisco iOS. So for an example, if I wanted to do, a directory, the command is actually files. Now here's something fun. If you press the go button, it will just give you a file list of what the current volume is. So that's all what's on our, in this case, virtual hard drive. You won't get to see any directories because you need another command to do that called volume. And so again, we have various different things. So volume status is sort of like dir/AD. So if we hit go, we'll kind of get the idea of how many directories and what they are. So that's all very cool and all, but I just wanted to show you that instead of typing volume status, we can also type vol stat, and we can get the same thing. Very, very cool, especially from an OS that came out as early as this one did. So now me telling you about the go button versus enter button, if we were to do the same thing with the enter button, you'll notice that it's asking us questions about the command. And this is where we can change things, like the volume or the device name. We can ask for details. We can do other things, and this works for files as well. So for an instance, if we were to go, say, let's see, sys and then a star, and we tell it to give us details, and then we press the go button, then I've typed in the wrong thing, so it's given us an unrecognized volume or device, error 215. So I apologize for that, but that is how this works. So you can also, on the files command, set it to 80 columns and print details. So now you'll notice when I press go, it looks very different. It tells us the length, the sectors, modified date, what level of protection it has. Now, as far as I know, this image was actually made in 2015, but you'll find files that go all the way back to the 80s in this directory listing because of when the actual files were originally made. So I hope that helps you get this OS running under VirtualBox. That's about all I have for you today. So hope everything goes well. You take it easy. Have a nice day.